Okay. I'd like to start also by letting you know that March 1st was the World Day of Prayer, and that's a global ecumenical movement led by Christian women who welcome you to join in prayer and action for peace and justice. This year's program came from the Christian women in Palestine. Their theme was from Ephesians chapter 4, and it is, "I beg you, bear with one another in love," was chosen in 2017. But it is appropriate and relevant today amidst the devastating war in Gaza and Israel. In this time of war and violence, we must stand united in protecting God's creation. We must pray for a just peace, and we must work for a just peace. On this Gifts of Women Sunday, we are asked to reflect collectively on this theme from the context of their suffering as Palestinian women. They hope to inspire other women around the world to bear with one another in love during troubling times. God has surely guided us for such a time as this. We respond as Christian women by going down on our knees and praying for peace, unity, love, and justice. For our mission moment this morning, I'm honored to introduce my sister-in-law. This is Delinda Hanley. She is the executive director of the Washington Report for Middle East Affairs, and in this role, Delinda has had several opportunities to visit the West Bank and has heard firsthand accounts from the Palestinian people on what it's like to live on a day-to-day basis under occupation. She is here this morning to share with us the current challenges of the Palestinian women and their children. Delinda?
Well, thank you for inviting me to talk about the Palestinian women who need our help. While Palestinians living in the West Bank and Israel are enduring a harsh military occupation today, I'm going to just focus on the women in Gaza. Gaza's population of about 2.2 million live in a strip of land no more than 25 miles long and less than 8 miles across at its widest point. Until now, Gazans have survived a nearly 17-year land, sea, and air blockade, which has isolated them from the world. The blockade, actually a siege, has limited the number of people and goods allowed in and out through Israeli and Egyptian-controlled crossings. Some 1.5 million displaced Palestinians are now sheltering in Rafah, more than half of Gaza's population. The Palestinian city of Rafah is as old as civilization itself. It has existed for thousands of years. The Canaanites referred to it as Raphia. It survived many invasions, including by the ancient Egyptians, Romans, and Napoleon's army. Will it survive the attack Prime Minister Netanyahu is promising will come? The United Nations has warned that an attack on Rafah could endanger the lives of about 600,000 children and further collapse the struggling humanitarian aid system. 24-year-old Serena Awad, who is sheltering in Rafah, said, "I have lived through 6 Israeli aggressions, and every time I wait for my turn to die. What I want the world to know is that women in Gaza are like any other women. We study, go to work, have our own family, but we suffer." Palestinians are educated and have hopes and dreams like all of us. The literacy rate in Palestine is among the highest in the world, more than 97%. That's because Palestinians have always believed that education is the one thing that can't be taken away from them. They can lose their land, their home, their right to travel, their olive trees and fishing boats, but they can still learn. That is, until this latest war in Gaza. Israel has destroyed more than 500 mosques and churches, over 300 universities and schools, more than 360,000 civilian housing units, more than 31 hospitals, and dozens of vital civil centers. For months, Israeli soldiers occupied and used one university campus as a military base and detention center for Palestinians before blowing it up. Nagham Abu Samara, 24, was a sporting icon and a role model for girls in Gaza. She had a black belt in karate and 2 university degrees. She was going to represent Palestine at the upcoming Olympic Games in Paris. Nagam died after an Israeli bomb attack that also killed her sister, Roseanne. More than 25,000 of the more than 30,000 Gazans killed are women and children. Johns Hopkins University estimates that the war in Gaza could cause 85,000 Palestinian deaths over the next 6 months from injuries, disease, and lack of medical care. Every time something happens in Gaza, my family says, this is it. Our government will call for a ceasefire. We'll stop sending weapons to Israel, which is using internationally banned and prohibited weapons, including phosphorus and dum bombs, in densely populated areas. This is it, we thought, when Israel cut off power and bombed hospitals in Gaza, forcing doctors to evacuate, leaving premature babies to die alone in incubators. This is it, we thought, when the International Court of Justice charged Israel with genocide. Instead, we halted funding for UNRWA, which is sheltering and feeding Palestinians, after Israel accused a few of them, of 12,000 employees in Gaza, of being involved in the October 7th attack by Hamas. And they never proved that those 7 employees were part of the Hamas attack. This is it, we thought, when Hind Rajab, a 6-year-old little girl, was trapped in a car with her dead relatives and begged for 3 hours on a cell phone for someone to save her. After hours of negotiations, Israel finally allowed an ambulance crew to pick her up. But in fact, the troops killed the EMTs and the child. 12 days later, Palestinians were finally able to access the scene to find the destroyed vehicles and the dead occupants. This is it, we thought, when CNN reported that more than 10 children a day had lost one or more of their limbs in Gaza since October 7th, with many amputations performed without anesthesia. This is it, when mothers were undergoing C-sections with no anesthetics and sent home the same day so their bed could be freed for the next birth. According to UNICEF, 180 mothers a day are giving birth in war-torn Gaza with little or no medical help, often in dirty, overcrowded shelters or tents or bathrooms. The mothers are starving, so they can't produce milk for their babies, and they can't afford or find baby formula. This is it, we thought, on Thursday, when 112 hungry Gazans were killed and another 700 wounded. Fathers who had heard there would be food delivery and hoped to bring some back for their starving children. Their families had been eating animal feed, bird food, and leaves for 2 months. Israeli soldiers fired on them with automatic rifles and tanks. In response, Americans finally began airlifting bundles of food to Palestinians. We have never seen an entire population, 2.2 million people, made to go hungry this quickly and this completely. And people's health is rapidly declining. What is really concerning now is we're starting to hear reports of children dying from dehydration, malnutrition, and starvation. We've never seen children pushed into malnutrition so quickly. Women in Gaza may be resilient survivors, but they need our urgent attention this International Women's Day. Mothers Against Drunk Driving were able to change laws in our country. This year, Arab, Muslim, Christian, and progressive Jewish Americans, black and white, men and women, are protesting and calling for peace and justice. Our dad, Dick Curtis, spent his career in the Foreign Service telling Arabs about America. He spent his retirement launching the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs magazine and a bookstore called Middle East Books and More in Washington to tell Americans about Arabs and improve our foreign policy. Our mother, Donna Curtis, wore this jacket to many events, and she and our dad tried to end Israel's cruel occupation and urge equal rights and peace for both Israelis and Palestinians for 40 years. They've been doing this. They had. Anyway, she had the phone numbers of her members of Congress, the White House, and the State Department posted near her phone. She called those numbers a lot to express her opinions. Palestinians need an immediate ceasefire, and they need it now. Please help stop this man-made disaster. Please call and pray for peace in the Holy Land. Thank you.